Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since I've posted anything and I apologize about that, but it's been pretty busy for me. If you don't know who I am R.E. Holding and I write books under that handle. I've so far written 6 books, and so it does take a lot of time and energy. And I'm not even talking about the writing part of it. So that's the purpose of this video today, is I did want to talk about the realities of self-publishing. So sorry, I'm going to be looking down at my notes periodically. So with that out of the way, I did want to get to the first point in self-publishing. So number one is that the writing part is the easy part. And you've probably heard that before from other people, maybe other self-publishers, maybe traditionally published authors. Anyway, the writing is definitely the easy part. And you're probably thinking to yourself, like, holy crap, the writing is the easy part. Then what was all this hell that I just went through writing this manuscript? And you're right to think that, because writing itself is definitely difficult, and it does take a lot of training your brain to create, the sentence structure that you're looking for, the kind of emotion that you're trying to evoke, and, the story that you're trying to tell. And it is definitely taxing, and I get that, and I've been there. But anyway, the writing is definitely the easy part. And as this video goes on, you'll see why. I personally have been writing, putting my work out there since the end of 2023. So just a little over 2 years, and I've gleaned a lot of experience through doing this, and I did want to go through it. So anyway, just to, reiterate that writing is the easy part. So once you have your manuscript all polished the way you think it should be, and like it's finished, and you've typed the end, and you've just finished it off. The next thing you're going to want to do, and I say this not loosely at all, if you want to be taken seriously as an author, the next thing you want to do is edit the thing. And there are so many different ways that people choose to do these edits. They will either hire someone, which is probably the closest thing to traditionally published as you can get as a self-published author. You want to hire somebody to do it for you. If you don't want to hire somebody, and we'll get into the cost of that later, you can do it yourself. And there's different softwares that you can use. There's like AutoCrit, Beta Readers, ProWriting Aid has its own thing. There's several different things you can do. And I highly, highly suggest you don't use AI to do it, because if you plug in a chapter or two or whatever into AI, it's gonna save that and scrape it. So anyway, I highly recommend that you do it yourself. You can print it, you can redline it, if you can't afford an editor. I personally hire an editor because I don't want to focus on that sort of thing. I feel like it is important to get a different set of eyes on your work, because in truth, you're biased to your work. And I totally get that. I don't have any works out there that I did not hire an editor for. And that comes with a cost. And I don't write full time. I have a job. And this job funds this for me. So that's another reality of self-publishing. Not everybody does this full time. They have an income that they can use to support their writing. So anyway, as far as editors are concerned, the typical amount, I would say average, is anywhere from 0.02 to 0.025 cents per word if you want to hire somebody. That's per word. So it sounds like it's not much. So 0.02 cents. You're talking about a fraction of a cent. But if you have 100,000 words, that 0.02 cents turns into $2,000 for one manuscript just to have it edited. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's probably not the exact amount because I didn't punch it into a calculator. I'm just going based on my own experiences of having hired editors for my work. So my fantasy novels typically hover around 93 to 95,000 words, and I've spent $2,000 to hire my editor per book. So that's a lot of money, and it's something that I factor into my budget. So step 2, hiring an editor, and I do not gloss over that. Definitely hire an editor if you want your work to be taken seriously. Let me put the caveat on that. If you don't care, don't hire an editor. That's fine, but nobody will take you seriously. That's a hard truth. Sorry, but that's it. So once you have your editor going, there's also some timing aspects of this. Depending on when you want to release your book, you also got to start coordinating like a cover art. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over this because cover art is so nuanced. You can hire somebody to do that. You could do it yourself like you did your editing. Canva, you can use Canva to do it. You can use the free Canva subscription if you want. I feel like the pro subscription is better, way better, and it's like $100 for a year. But it's something like that. It may be a little more than that, a little less. I don't remember, but anyway, it's about that. So you can do it yourself, or you can hire a company like Get Covers. I think, you can spend anywhere from $10 to $35 depending on how many images you want on the cover and whatever else you want out of that. So like if you want the original source file, whatever. So there are inexpensive ways of doing cover art. Now, it depends on, I feel like cover art also depends on how you feel about your work, and how you want to portray it to the public. So for my fantasy series, I have stumbled with that. I tried to do it. I tried to hire Get Covers to do that. I was not happy with the result. I hired a different artist to do 3 covers because it's 3 books, and I was not happy with the results. And plus he flaked on me. So that's another risk that you've got to take with cover art. So anyway, I don't want to ramble about this, but cover art is another thing that you're going to have to do. And if you want to be taken seriously, you got to have a good cover, because you need to have it look good on Amazon or whatever platform you want to sell it on. Wide seems to be more popular these days because of the things that Amazon has been doing to authors. So anyway, take that how you will. But anyway, so just I will use this as an example. So this is my cover art for my omnibus, which I'm actually really happy about. The original covers that I had for it were not great. Here's the case cover. I had this done in Book Vault. So Book Vault is a UK based company that will do the foiling and the bespoke stuff and whatnot, and papers and whatnot. So I'm really happy with this. And by the way, this is a Kickstarter, so I will put the link in the description if you want to follow it. It's not live yet, but if you subscribe to my newsletter, I will have secret links for discounts. So keep that in mind, and I will also link my newsletter. But anyway, so back to the cover art. I hired an artist to do the drawing on that, and I'm very happy with how that came out. I also hired a different artist to do cover art in the middle, and if I can get to it quickly, I will. Now this is just a mock-up. This is actually going to be a 2-page spread. Because I wanted a physical copy of this, I wanted to have something done, so I just put the same cover on both sides. So anyway, but that's kind of what that looks like, and that's on the inside of the book. Well, anyway, I hired an artist to do 3 of those. So anyway, it was not cheap. One artist was about $1,000. The other was $750. I'm sorry, it was more than that. It was about another $1,000. So anyway, just that was a lot of money. $2,000 just to do cover art. Sorry. I think the numbers are right, but anyway, just don't take it lightly is what I'm saying. So cover art can range anywhere from free, if you do it yourself, using free Canva or Paint or however you want to put it. If you know how to draw, you can draw and do your own cover. if you have some design skills and stuff, which is great. Well, I'm learning some design skills so I can try to help reduce my own costs for doing things. But I've learned Photoshop, I've learned Canva, I've done all kinds of stuff to help offset the cost of some of that. But yet my covers still cost, quite a bit of money because I don't have, the greatest skill when it comes to that sort of art. Now I did draw some of the stuff inside of my book, but I don't have enough confidence in myself to draw the cover. Let me just end with that. So anyway, cover art can range anywhere from free to $10,000 per cover. And I am not joking at the $10,000 number. I tried to get a quote from somebody to get one single cover for one of my books, and I offered $2,000 for one piece of art. And she said it was not enough. It was, she does at least 10,000 and up for her art, which I feel like honestly is insane. If you're talking about taking a month to do a piece of art at 10 grand per piece on the low end, that's a 6-figure income for that person. And I'm not balking at somebody's income. What I'm balking at is the fact that that is coming from one author. Who knows how many other authors there are? This person could be making 7 figures. So I don't want this to go on a big tangent or anything like that, but I honestly, as being in the self-publishing world, that is something that a lot of people will take advantage of, is authors. And we are like probably the poorest people when it comes to this whole thing. So anyway, let's get back to it. So the fourth thing that you're going to want to do is interior design. So you can write your book in Word, and that's fine, but you have to understand how to format that to go inside of a book. Word on its own, if you just open a blank document and start typing in it, it doesn't have the proper margins, it doesn't have the proper headers and footers and whatever else that you need for that. If you want design on there, like for each chapter header, whatever, Word is not going to do that for you unless you know how to program it to do that. And then Word itself is buggy as heck, so I don't recommend doing your interior design in Word, but it can be done. However, there are a couple different programs that you can use. One is Atticus, which is a Windows-based, they may have a Mac-based one, but it's the Windows-based program you can use to format your book. Vellum is the Mac-based one, and then there's also InDesign. There's a couple software programs you can use to export from, like AutoCrit, Noveler. There's other softwares and whatever, or you can hire somebody on Fiverr to do it for you. I personally have Atticus. I found it was getting a little buggy for me. It was making my computer run really slow and it was crashing a lot. So I decided to train myself on InDesign, which I know a lot of people don't like Adobe, and I completely understand. It's expensive. A monthly subscription for that is like $70, to get the whole shebang. I may have complained a little bit to them and got mine reduced by a lot. So I pay about $30 a month for the entire Creative Suite, which includes InDesign and Photoshop and all that good stuff. So anyway, I taught myself how to use InDesign, and I feel like it's just hands down better, the most customizable program you can get, but it also comes with a learning curve. So just keep that in mind as well. But anyway, that's the interior side of it. And I'm telling you, like, I would personally recommend that you do it yourself, and not hire somebody on Fiverr or anywhere else. The reason I say that is because even if you've gone through the editing process and you've gotten your manuscript back and you've gone through all the changes and whatnot, when you start to like do your interior layout, you will catch typos. You will catch them that your editor didn't catch, that you didn't originally catch, stuff like that. And it also, in my opinion, brings you a little bit closer to your work. And you may decide that you don't like the way you phrased something, the way you see it on the page. It's just like, maybe I'll change that just a little bit. I know that sounds, I don't know, flimsy, but like, I don't know. I just feel like it's better if you just do it yourself. So anyway, there's interior design, and I feel like that can range from free if you just do it from Word, or cost wise, depending on whether or not I've never hired anyone on Fiverr, so I couldn't tell you what the price is on that. I haven't even tried to price that because I've always just done it for free, but it can be costly as well. So just keep that in mind. So the last thing I want to talk about as far as like the realities of self-publishing is the marketing aspect of it. You can do all of these things. You can pour all this money and polish this product off to like just fantastic levels. But unless you have like a social media following, or, you're rich or whatever, or people just tend to like you online or whatever, your book will not sell. It will not sell. There are groups out there that, there's one in particular on Facebook called 20 Books to 50K. And basically what that means is you have to write 20 books to make 50K. Now there's some truth to that in my opinion, but there's also some non-truth to that. You could write 20 books, sure. But to make the 50K, you do have to market it. You can't just throw it out there and people will find it. There are so many things right now that are vying for your attention. And it used to be, the saying was that you'd have to push a marketing advertisement in front of somebody 7 times before they click the button to buy it. I feel like it's way more than that now. I think, we're constantly being bombarded with ads, and there are people out there that are putting a legitimate effort to putting their ads out there, but it's almost kind of like, to me, it's like those car alarms that go off and everybody ignores because they're just so used to seeing it or hearing it that they just ignore it. And somebody could be robbing the place or robbing the car, but nobody's going to pay attention because they just think it's another false alarm. I use that analogy because in advertising, it's like it's constantly in your face, and to the point where you're just like, get out of my face, get out of my face. Who actually is, there are people that are still swayed by advertisements, don't get me wrong, but there are just so many of them out there that you have to come up with something spectacular, and it's going to cost a lot of money, and it's going to be in somebody's face like 1,000 times a day in order for them to actually do it. So there's kind of a joke about Temu, because Temu put so many ads out there. They were losing all this money, but then they ended up getting a lot of buyers because they were just spraying their advertisements anywhere. And only God knows how much they spent on that advertising to lose all that money. But I guess, maybe they're making it back. I don't know the ins and outs of the business of Temu, but I do know that they spent a lot on advertising. And I personally don't have the money to be doing that. So I've already spent my money on the editor, the cover art, and, all the other crap that goes with that. I will have to spend a little bit of money on advertising once, some of this stuff comes out, especially with my Kickstarter, because I do want it to succeed. Now, like I said, I've already spent a lot of money on this book. I'm going to be real with you here. So this book that I showed you earlier, has 3 books in it. There's 3 separate volumes inside of here. You can see how big and fat it is. It's 800 some pages. And I used my interior design to kind of shrink down some of that so it wasn't so big, because otherwise it would have been like 900 pages. So anyway, I made this, and I spent roughly $2,000 per book for editing. And I spent $2,000 on cover art, and I've also spent $900 on cover art for the person that flaked on me, and then I've spent I guess about $100 on the cover art from Get Covers that I ended up not using at all. So grand total is close to $10,000 to make this. Now my Kickstarter, my base goal is only $500, because the reality is, I don't think I'm going to get a ton of people that are going to want to buy it, because I am relatively unheard of. People don't know who I am. Even though I have several books out there, I don't know. I don't spend the effort in social media, and I really should. But the thing is like when I do post anything on social media, hardly anyone ever looks at it. I've posted some things on TikTok and Instagram and Substack and all these things, and nobody's viewed it. Nobody looks at it. So I get tired of creating these graphics and creating these things that I think look pretty cool, or things that I think people might take notice of. And it just goes nowhere. It's tiring. And that's why I want to circle back to point one, where writing is the easy part. So the other day, man, I sat down and I wrote 3,000 words in an hour and a half. And it was so easy for me to do that. And I just, all this other stuff is just the difficult part for me. But anyway, rather than go on and ramble about this, I did want to mention really quickly, if you've ever seen me make comments about this, and I know I've gotten a lot of hate for this and Discord and whatever, but I really don't feel like, unless you have put your work out there in the public in some way, you can't call yourself a writer. I'm sorry. You can't. You can write, you can work towards that. But here's the reality. Before I self-published my debut novel back at the end of 2023, I had several published papers out there because I am a scientist. I have scientific papers out there with my name on them. However, I would never have called myself a writer. Just because I have papers out there doesn't mean I'm a writer. I'm a scientist. So anyway, I'm not going to get on that soapbox now, but it's just one of the things that I've been criticized for in the past. But I really do feel like I'm not the only one that feels that way. So anyway, those are my 5 things to look out for. I may do an abbreviated version of this to get into, or maybe go into each thing in more specifics in other videos. But for now, those are kind of the things that nobody really tells you about self-publishing, that it is actually very expensive if you want to put out like a quality product. I mean, sure, you can create an AI slop, throw an AI slop cover on it, and then throw it on KDP and maybe throw some advertising dollars behind it, but or not, doesn't seem to matter. There are AI books that seem to make it out into the public because people do criticize them. I've seen them on Threads. I've seen them on, different social media platforms where they cut out, where they left the prompt in and all that stuff. So if you don't want to, create that kind of a name for yourself, and I guess that doesn't matter either because you can just create a new pen name. So anyway, I'm just rambling right now. There's a lot of things to go over on the self-publishing, so I may do some more videos in the future about this. I don't have a lot of time to do these extra videos because, like I said, I do work full-time, and I do this writing stuff full-time and handle everything by myself. I don't have anyone working for me or doing anything. The only thing is that I hire people to edit and I hire people to cover design, but that's it. And then even then I still have to go back and, fine-tune what I get back. So anyway, so that's that. I do have this Kickstarter out. I would really appreciate if you could give it a follow. I'm hoping it'll be out sometime in mid-March. This is the hardcover version that I showed you before. The sprayed edges are if I meet a specific stretch goal. And I wanted to have a physical copy of it just to show that, hey, it's done. It just needs, I don't know. I just want to get it out there, basically, because, really the whole reason that I'm doing all this is just to share my stories. That's all. So anyway, I'll link it down in the description below along with some other things for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Not sure when that'll be, but hopefully not too terribly long. But anyway, bye.